Good evening and welcome to the regular meeting, January 28th, 2014, of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. Earlier tonight, starting at 6 o'clock, we were engaged with the school committee and members of the Finance Committee in a joint meeting to discuss the 2015 proposed budget and some other issues. Let's see, can I have a quick clerk pro tem just to do the roll call and so forth until Alan comes back? Mr. Tropiano?
Okay. Present is Ms. Whiteside, Mr. Tropiano. Mr. Holmes, could you turn that towards me, please? Mr. Slavin is presently tied up, but he should be here any second. And Mr. Teitelbaum, also Town Administrator, Mr. Sullivan, and Town Council will be in any second.
Okay, hurry up, you. We already started without you.
We're at announcements there, sir.
Yes, I was actually interested to see if Patrick would skip over citizens' participation like you do, but I guess won't be able to find that out.
No, I
We already did the roll call.
It's,
Announcements is next.
I love.
Mrs. Whiteside, announcements?
Yes, I have a few. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd like to recognize the girls' track and field team. They won the small school championship on December 28th for the South Coast Conference Relay. It's a really outstanding program that the coach, Mr. Gardner, has grown over the past, I think, 8 years. There are 32 participants in the track team, which is a really good number. Congratulations also to the 39 students from the DECA program who made the state finals. The program is one that actually was started by Mr. Sylvia many moons ago in the high school. It stands for Distributive Education Career. I blew it. I can't remember what it stands for right now. You got me going, sorry. Anyway, the kids, stop. The children, the students do business presentations. They have to take an online test. They have all sorts of hoops that they have to jump through. So 39 kids going to the States is really, really great. The library is sponsoring a couple of programs. One is Adopt a Book. They have a bulletin board, and you can take the book off the bulletin board. It's a picture of the book. And then you buy it and donate it to the library. It's a great way of making sure that the kind of thing that you like to read gets to the library. Also on February 14th and 15th, the library is hosting the indoor golf tournament that they have every year, the mini golf tournament. The 14th is from 7 to 9. It's for adults only, and then the 15th it is 10 to 4, and it's open to all people. It's Friday and Saturday. Yes. 10 to 4. It's really fun. Okay. The other thing I want to report on, I'll do that under my. I'll do that under liaison. I'm all set. Thank you.
Mr. Tropiano?
All right, so it's coming into February, and of course, there's a lot of good things in February. One is the Red Sox start training, which I like. But baseball starts sign-ups, and I want to remind everybody that Wareham Little League, if you go to Wareham Little League, just put it in your browser, it'll come up, and they're going to have their sign-ups. They start in February, the first part of February, like the first week or so. And also Gateway Babe Ruth, which is our Babe Ruth system here for Wareham, which is a huge league now, covers all the whole Cape. Any of the kids that want to sign up for that, it's 13 through, I think, 15. 13 to 15. You should go to Gateway Babe Ruth and get ready to sign up for that, too, because they're having sign-ups now, too. So you want to get on those things right away. Don't miss them, because otherwise they set up the league without you, and then you may not get the spot you want.
Mr. Holmes?
Thank you very much. I'm going to read off my phone This is from Sally Morrison. Twofer, she says. WCTV applause for a cause. Wareham Community TV added a new event to its lineup, applause for a cause. WCTV submitted names of local worthy causes. The cause lottery was held on June 13th on the Good Morning Show. In congratulations to the winning beneficiary, Turning Point Day Resource Center for the homeless and nearly homeless. Applause for a cause is February 28th from 6 to 10 p.m. at the Buzzards Bay Productions Playhouse on Cranberry Highway. The event is free, but guests can make donations to Turning Point. Applause for a Cause will be live on Channel 9 on Comcast and 30 on Verizon. It'll be streaming on the WarehamTV.org website. The second announcement from Sally is that the live auction, Take 5, the date is due for nonprofits to apply for this year's auction and entertainment. Applications are due by 5 p.m. January 31st. And there is an application at that WarehamTV.org. Hard copies are available at the station on Main Street. Applications may be mailed or dropped off at the station. WCTV A&E. Take 5 is hosted by the Elks on May 17th from 4 p.m. to midnight. So those are two really big events that Wareham TV has been putting on. The first one is new. The second one, the auction, has been going on for a few years now. Both great causes. I did want to just echo many sentiments that I've received over the last several days. And again, we had another snow last Tuesday, Wednesday, and many calls in personal congrats to Mr. Menard, who's here tonight. I see him in the background. And to the Municipal Maintenance Department. We all know that that department has been, how did you say it, cut inside the bone now? Is that the new terminology? And they did just a fabulous job during the storm. I also want to put a shout out to Chief of Police and Mr. Evans with the EMS department. Another great job. Mr. Sullivan, of course, for coordinating all those efforts. And again, some people didn't like my appreciation, and that's fine. If you don't like it, you don't have to listen to it. But really, when we put out those state of emergencies, 2 storms in a row now, and Mr. Menard can verify this, but people actually stayed off the roads and gave them an opportunity to clean the streets. And that makes a huge difference when you're out. Patrick is a certified plower, right? He can tell you. But when you keep certifiable, is that what you said?
More than likely.
But when you keep vehicles off the road, it gives those guys and ladies a perfect opportunity to get those streets clean. And I think they did a wonderful job. I actually saw some kids out with shovels walking up and down Onset Avenue. I hadn't seen that in a long time, probably trying to make a couple of bucks. And the other thing is, with these temperatures, we're not looking at anything substantive to break there. So if you know some elderly people, please try to check on them. And if you know of an issue that you think is dangerous, call Mr. Sullivan's office and or the chief or anybody at town hall and make him aware of it, and then he can farm out the information to the proper authorities. So thank you.
Mrs. Whiteside, is it not on this Saturday, the 1st, an event at the library too?
Yes.
Because I think Mrs. Susan Williams Gifford is doing some reading.
Yes,
the
it's
library?
Love Your Library,
Love
I
Your
think.
Library.
Yes. I apologize for omitting that one. Yes.
I think the only reason I remember, I believe I'll be reading again also.
Ah.
Also, on the
So
library,
that's not the golf thing?
on the golf on the 14th and 15th, just as an additional piece, they are still looking for sponsors for holes, donations, etc. Diane O'Brien is the person who's the chairman of that particular committee, and this is for the Friends of the Wareham Library. So if you get in hold of Diane, if you'd like to sponsor a hole, they still have some openings for sponsorship. Mr. White is having his usual Thursday morning coffee break still at the library, Bob? Over at the library, and it'll be Mr. Jim Moore's Life Before Cranberries Behind the Badge. The Wareham Historical Society is having a potluck dinner. Angela, you want to come up for a minute since you're here? Angela's the chairman of the Historical Society. Rather than me misspeak, you might as well give it the exact information. It's okay, we put you on the spot.
The potluck fundraiser at this point in time is offered to membership first because we have limited space. However, there will come a point, probably about February 10th, where we'll open it up to the public if we haven't filled all of our seats. It'll be a fundraiser for the Wareham Historical Society, and the potluck dinner will be, the cooking will be done by our very own board member chefs, and there'll be a Chinese auction that evening. So I think around the 10th or so, we'll send out a notice to the public if the seats are available. We have a capacity of about 48 in the meeting house. But thank you so much for bringing that up, because we will be having fundraisers down the line, like all the other organizations in town. The Wareham Historical Society is in need of fundraising, so I will have other announcements coming up down the line that will be open to the public. Thank you very much.
Also, just as an announcement for everybody, on town meeting, the warrant closes on Tuesday, February 18th. Last day to submit citizen petition articles is February 14th, which is on a Friday. We got notice today from Susan Williams Gifford. There's an amendment number 141 to House Bill 3860. The amendment is to add to this transportation bill sponsored by her, William Strauss of Mattapoisett. I forget Mr. Vieira's first name, of Falmouth.
David.
David, thank you. To move a bill to amend Section 2A, item 6121-1317, by inserting in line 200 after the word Bedford the following: provide further that no less than $75,000 shall be expended for the initial design and permit scoping for a commuter rail station in the town of Wareham. Also, Mrs. Gifford has Bill H1115 is still in process, which include the modular multiple homes counted toward affordable housing. We look forward to hoping something happens with that as well.
Actually, it's been referred to the Housing Subcommittee.
Right. So it is moving along. Done.
Okay, just to add to the railroad news, and again, we'd like to thank Representative David Vieira from Bourne, Representative William Strauss, who was the House Chair of the Transportation Committee, and our own Representative Susan Williams Gifford for working together, bipartisan effort, to try to advance the cause of getting commuter rail to the town. I know that Bourne is in the process of exploring the possibilities for, I believe, a Buzzards base stop. They recently, I think a couple of weeks ago, had a community forum where they brought the idea forward, asked residents what they thought about it. One of the things that pleases me no end in Wareham is that we had these discussions years ago. We know that our citizens are in favor of this, so we don't have to repeat that effort at this point. We know everybody in town is behind the effort to get commuter rail, and so it's just a matter of going forward and making sure that we support our legislators as they try to help us out here. The second piece also relates to rail. On Thursday, Selectman Slavin and I will be meeting with the engineers who are designing the platform for the Cape Flyer. Again, that's going to wind up between the fire station on Main Street and where the old feed store was, in that vicinity. I understand there's been a slight shift in the location, a few feet one way or the other. We'll find out more about that on Thursday. So that looks like it's moving along well, too. So that's it. Also like to thank municipal maintenance and the people, too, for staying off the roads to allow municipal maintenance to do the job of plowing. So thank you to the citizens. Next, please.
Citizens participation?
Anybody here like to speak to the board tonight? Okay, seeing no one. Next, please.
Okay, I have no bills. I can make a motion to accept the minutes of January 7th.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 5-0-0.
Make a motion to accept the minutes of January 14th.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
3-0-2. Selectman Holmes and Selectman Whiteside abstaining.
Next up, we have a license and permit for South Shore Race Management.
Is there anybody here from South Shore Race Management? I don't see anyone. I know that this is an annual event that takes place. I have been advised that there is some thought given that the 2014 committee summer celebration may also be looking to use the Deacon School area as possibly an overflow parking area. It may well be that the police department will determine that there's a need for a detail in that area, and if that's the case, then so shall it be. I have spoken with the 2014 folks, and other than that, they don't see a big conflict here. So unless there are questions from the board that they would have wished to direct to the applicant, I don't see any reason why we can't just vote on this.
Move to approve.
Second.
Just for information, we have all the different sign-offs from police, EMS, etc. And in there's a recommendation from the police for one policeman at the Deacon School for the 4 hours.
Motion made by Selectman Holmes, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0.
Thank you.
Next, please.
Funding source contract 2. Still waiting on that.
That's something actually that I could have mentioned in the announcements. Funding source for contract 2. We're still waiting for the state to come down and take a look at our sewer enterprise and how we do things. That is going to take place on Thursday. I understand Department of Revenue is going to be down, and so don't bug Mr. Sullivan that day. He's going to be tied up with them for the day. So
It's, Thursday, the Department of Revenue is bringing their team down, so there's different agenda item, but I guess one equals the other.
yeah,
so.
exactly. Oh, Selectman Holmes couldn't hear you. You got to really, your voice isn't carrying well tonight for whatever reason.
I'm just saying the same thing as them. It was another agenda item, but because contract 2, which I think we've had it on there for months now, we've been waiting on the DOR review. But when there's another action item on the agenda item about the DOR coming down, but we've just covered that now with this conversation.
Yeah. So we'll await the results from you
Is that this Thursday?
This
Thursday.
9 o'clock. 9:15. Mrs. Whiteside, anything on the sewer commissioner article?
Yes, I printed up the Legiscan latest report, which says that it has been ordered to a third reading. Other than that, the third reading has not taken place or been scheduled, and I can't be more specific than that, for the record.
Thank you.
Now, just so people understand, state law requires that seats that are due up for election, that papers to to run for those seats be made available 64 days out from the election itself. So even if the legislature were to some happy accident, act on this tomorrow, run over to Beacon Hill, get the governor's signature, run upstairs, get the governor's signature, it still would not be done in time for the April 1st election. So at the very earliest you will see the sewer commissioner authority taken from this board and given to a new sewer commissioner board would be sometime after the November election at this point. So I just want to get that out there. The deadline is passed. So once again, we're looking at the will of the people taking some time to be effectuated.
I believe on the charter change, the actual changeover is actually in May when that happens, because that piece was put in ahead of time and passed. So even if there's an election in November, it will actually come into effect in May.
Thank you for that clarification. So that's the status.
Any other sewer business? Peter's not here.
When are we going to deal with that EDU issue?
We just started with it. But hopefully, when are we doing the next meeting with the
Well,
Tie and bond?
what we'll be doing next month, when we can schedule it, as a workshop meeting.
I'm also talking about that problem that we have about the EDUs being rescheduled, reset.
There's nothing to be done about that until some kind of formal notice comes in before the board. I understand that there's somebody may be sending a letter.
I just gave you formal notice. I've given you formal notice a month ago.
Well, no, you've indicated a problem with a constituent, but the constituent needs to write to us. And I thought that was what was forthcoming. So
I see.
I'd like to see the issue articulated in writing. That makes it easier for us to deal with it on the record.
You know what? That's baloney, okay? I'm a selectman. I got the complaint from the guy. We already know. It's easy enough to call down to the department and find out what the rates are before anything even comes, to find out what he was paying last year and what he's paying now, which is a huge difference, and figuring out what was wrong with that. It's a pretty easy thing for us to do. We don't need to have 10 letters. Although a letter is on its way, if it hasn't gotten there yet, it should be here any day. That's not the point. The point is I want it on the agenda, okay, and I want to deal with it. Because this is enough of this.
The issue I have is, absent essentially what's going to amount at this time to a request for abatement, I don't see that there's anything we can do about it. If you want to take the EDU sheet, if you want to go through it, if you want that to be part of the entire review that we're doing going forward, that's fine, because that falls within the whole parameter of looking at what we do, how we're doing it. Does the 1996 sheet make sense? And I agree with you, there's a lot of things on that sheet that don't make a darn lick of sense.
Well, whatever it is, we need to fix it for this guy. He can't be paying $6,300 for a sewer bill for 50 gallons of water a day. That's almost the most absurd thing I ever heard. He was paying $1,800, and now he's paying $6,300. That's so ridiculous, it's crazy. The guy from Meineke, they charged him for each door. They charged him an EDU rate, which they never did before. So now, and this is baloney. We can't do that to our businesses. That's more than his taxes. I want to deal with it. I just want to deal with it. You put it on the agenda, I'll get you a letter, we'll put it on for an abatement, something, but it's got to be taken care of.
All of a sudden, Mr. Chairman, through you, all of a sudden it's changed now?
Yeah.
Why?
Apparently, according to the sewer chief there, he said that we ordered him to look at all the EDUs, and I didn't order him to do anything. I don't remember that. I'm saying that it was something, but well, that's what he told the guy. That's what he's been telling people, that we told him to go re-look at all the EDUs the way they were set up. Okay.
One second. I think Mr. Sullivan's got something.
Did you tell him to do that?
As a matter of function, we should review our EDUs every year and make sure that the people we have on there are properly on there. We have houses that were abated years before, and people are living in there using the sewer.
I agree.
And this is part of the whole thing.
I agree.
However, there is a sheet from 1996 that specifically says how you're supposed to go about it. And the director is following that sheet. So we can't tell him to do anything different because there's nothing else until we say that sheet is either incorrect, and that's what needs to be addressed.
Well, then we need to deal with it because we can't be. We need to talk about this. We need to deal with it.
Yeah, I have no problem putting the sheet on the agenda, but to the extent that you've got a specific person with a specific problem, then really, I think the best way to go about it is to get on the record, send the correspondence
He's
in.
got a correspondence coming in.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that there's others that got the same problem happen to them.
Given what I saw on the 1996 EDU schedule, I would have to say you must be correct on that one, because it would be applicable to many businesses, what I saw, this particular dilemma.
Can we get the sheet well in advance of Tuesday so we can go through
It's actually in
before
here.
Tuesday?
It's in last week's packet.
Okay,
If you look at last week's packet, which the meeting we didn't have, it's in there.
Yep.
thanks. And we'll have that up for next week?
Next week.
Yep. Any other sewer business? Okay, next item, please.
Town business, vote to authorize municipal maintenance to apply to the Community Preservation Committee to fund projects. Mr. Menard? Just as a background for members and public, policy of the Board of Selectmen is any particular department of the town of Wareham applying for CPA funding has to come before the Board of Selectmen to get a letter of approval, as well as going to the Finance Committee to get a letter of approval before making application to the CPA program.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So you're looking to hit up the public till for some projects, are you?
Yeah, that's correct. I got 4 applications. I just gave you all. They're in, I'm not sure which order they're in, but we're looking for 4 to take care of 4 projects. A couple at the Tremont Nail Factory, the Old Town Hall, and the Onset Bathhouse.
Why don't we start off with the smallest dollar amount and go up to the biggest?
Okay, that would be the Onset Bathhouse. And I believe that one's for $10,000.
Is this for an engineering study, David?
Yes, that's engineering. What they, as far as what we can do with that facility, there's things going around as far as like a first aid station, rental pieces, whatnot.
So this would be the initial piece before coming back
Yes.
for an actual redo, whatever has to be done
What
to
we
the
can do,
building.
yes, yeah,
Under the CPA grant program.
yes.
Thank you.
Questions?
Just have a comment. I think that's a very timely request. We have a building that is an eyesore, and in terms of making best use of our assets, which includes the waterfront, I think this is a great idea.
Do we have to vote these individually?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'd make a motion to approve Mr. Menard's request for request of funds for the Onset Bathhouse Engineering Project for
Second.
$10,000.
Motion made by Selectman Holmes, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
Okay, the next amount would be not to exceed $25,000. That is to do the restoration on the Old Town Hall offices. What happened is we started into a painting project over there. Probably this should have been caught well before this point, but unfortunately, this is the way it is. There's some insect damage, some clapboards that need to be restored. It's quite a bit of work that needs to be done. So this is what I'm looking to get, is the $25,000 to get the whole project finished, and then that place painted and stuff.
That's why it's still scraped.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that right?
Go ahead.
Selectman
Me?
Tropiano?
Yeah, okay. This is, the tenant there is the cable television
Yeah.
people. And how do they pay us money to be there, to exist in there? Or do we just let them use the building?
They have a lease.
They have a
pay
lease.
rent.
So we're doing this within the confines of the lease? We're going to be spending money, whether we get it from them or whatever. It doesn't matter what pocket you take it out of, whether it's CPA or wherever. It's town money that we're going to be expending.
Right.
So the point is that in the confines of the amount of the lease, what's that look like in relationship to what we're spending on the building?
You're not going to recoup what you're spending on it for years upon the lease. Maybe 3 years would what you bring back. However, we've started the project. It was a project that was approved a while ago. So at its current state, not continuing on and repairing it or painting it is going to cause more damage than.
I agree.
Yeah.
But the point I'm getting to is, being one who was cable president for a bunch of years and all that, we used to do this quite often, use our money to take care of these kinds of things. You know what I mean? We'd do repairs on the building, change the garage, redesign the studio, buy new cameras, do all those kinds of things. And that's what those funds are for. That's what we negotiated them for when we negotiated the contract we have now, which is considered to be a very good contract as far as cable is concerned. I just don't know why there shouldn't be some level of funding from that side. And you're saying now they're on a lease. But if they're on a lease, maybe we didn't do the right thing to,
My understanding was initially they had wanted to do it at their cost.
Right.
And I can't tell you which committee or what stopped them and chose to use historic monies and community preservation monies instead. So they had been willing to do that, and they had spent monies on renovations within the building itself, substantial.
Mm-hmm.
So this.
I think Selectman Slaver might have some information for
Maybe
you.
some feedback there.
I believe it was probably somewhere in the area of 4 years ago or so, maybe a little longer. WCTV actually petitioned to the CPA for actually having the building done. First, they were going to do it themselves, and there was a question. They don't own the building, so when they petitioned CPA, they couldn't because they didn't own the building. Had to be municipal maintenance of the town. It lagged for about 3 or 4 years. It's in the historic district, so they were trying to preserve a historic building, etc. So this kind of just kept going on its own, and eventually finally got to be worked on. The gentleman working on it discovered what we'll call hidden damages. I believe you're going to have to go before Historic District Commission on Thursday, I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
And they'll have to approve the additional work to make sure it conforms to the historical district. So my only concern is hopefully the $25,000 will cover it, because I have no idea what they'll decide.
Well, there's no guarantee you'll get these grants either. You're applying for the grant. Right?
Correct.
Yes. Just
So there's no
yeah.
guarantee you'll
No
get
guarantee.
these.
No.
Town meeting has to vote these.
Yeah. Well, then the commission has to approve it
Yes.
to go on to even go to town meeting.
Correct.
So, there's no guarantee. I mean, they what they do is they take out they get all these grants, and they take out the ones that they like, and that's the ones that get to town meeting. The others don't get there.
Correct.
So, okay.
Selectman Whiteside?
I think it's important to finish the project, and I think it's important to finish the project before the 2014 celebration marches by there and looks at something that is unfinished. So I would move to authorize Mr. Menard to apply for the not to exceed $25,000 funds to be used for the old town hall offices restoration project for the
Second.
unforeseen expenditures.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. That one 5-0-0 as well.
Okay, the next one up would be, let's see, that would be the fire system for the Tremont Nail Factory. We're looking at $595,000 to replace the entire failing fire system in there. All the pipes, valves, everything is all deteriorated. In its current state, it's down. We cannot afford even to repair this thing no longer. So this is what I got an estimate to replace the failing system. This is something that's the fire department is not allowing me to shut this system down. I don't know what can happen. They sent us a letter on it that we're violating some fire code, and it's all in the packet here. If you read on some of the stuff what the fire department is requesting, I don't know what they can do if we do not fix this system. And right now the buildings and that at least the back building is unprotected by fire protection, where they have the Little People's College there and stuff. I'm sure the fire department has their concerns because of that issues, and he's, like I said, I applied for it. He denied the permit of shutting that system down.
I'm going to ask Attorney Bowen to come up for this one. Obviously, decisions about fire suppression systems, fire safety in general, under the state fire code are left with the fire chief, fire district. Is there any possible avenue of appeal of a decision like this, or an order to repair or replace through the regulations at 527 CMR? To the state fire marshal's office?
I believe there is, and there may also be one to the Building Board Code of Appeals as well. Those would be your two routes.
Yeah, my concern is basically this. We've got something we bought for, what, $1.2 million. We've sunk, how much?
Almost 1.4.
Well, 1.4. Sorry, I lowballed that one. We've sunk how many hundreds of thousands into the roof?
I believe there was a few hundred
250.
thousand, yeah, 300, right?
So now we're up to 1.65. We're looking at another 600 roughly for this. Now we're up to $2.25 million for something that doesn't really house a damn thing at this point. And, you know, it's nice to look at when you drive by and everything else. I don't have a problem approving you to apply for this. That does not mean, in my instance, and certainly others will speak to it, that I would necessarily support this expenditure at town meeting, because I think it's nuts.
I'd say tear it down. Hate to tell you.
At this point, it's becoming such a burden
It
on
is.
this town.
It's a problem.
There's so many things we could do with $250,000 on the roof. There are so many things we could do with $600,000 for to put out a fire in the place that isn't even occupied by anybody. I mean,
Big deal. They made some nails.
and I'm not blaming anybody on the current Community Preservation Committee. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just trying to look at what this thing is costing us going forward. Selectman Whiteside?
Yes, I would support it, because otherwise the building, the fire chief will not order his men to go into the building. And it will become more of an eyesore than it is at the moment. I understand that it's putting money into a large hole in the ground. At some point, I think this town will recognize that many of the buildings that still exist date back to the 1700s, 1722, 1724, things like that. That's exactly why the CPA funds exist. That's why the Historic District Commission and the Historical Society exist, that we can make something of these buildings rather than have them be a drag. And I hear you on the $2 million or whatever you're up to, but I would not want to put my first responders at risk.
I would never ask the first responders to go into an unoccupied fire trap, and I would imagine that the chief of the fire department
They wouldn't go in there anyway.
would have a similar view in terms of combating a fire at the scene.
They'd stand outside. They wouldn't go inside that building. Unless they thought somebody was in it.
Selectman Tropiano?
I wouldn't spend another cent on this place, to be quite frank with you. And historic or no historic, I mean, they made nails there, okay. You know, the building's a disaster, the whole thing's been a disaster for us, and, you know, there comes a point when you have to cut your losses, and this is the time to cut our losses. I wouldn't put a dime in it, not 1 cent.
Selectman Holmes?
Wow. Leaves me speechless, I guess. First time in a long time. Listen, I understand those who say that they wouldn't put another damn dime in it, but unfortunately for us, we actually have people that have spent a great deal of time. We have a research team out there from one of the colleges. The young lady was in here giving us a report just a few short months ago, talking about the value of the building, what can be done with the building. Cedar is looking into take advantage of those things. We have a historic building. Now you have a fire chief. I don't know why you would appeal. Hey, if a fire chief said that the building was unsafe, why would you appeal somebody to override that to say it is safe? Can't they cancel your insurance? Place burns down, you don't get a dime back. So you need to have fire suppression in the building that's insured. So there are a lot of downside to not fixing these pipes, or at least getting them up to code. And now that we've announced to the whole town that we have a fire trap, somebody with a match could go have a party. But I think that to deny Mr. Menard's request would be foolish. At least let him go forward and see if he can get the building fixed and up to repair in this time. But, you know, I think that it's one of those things that we have the folks out there pulling all these plans together. Cedar is, I know that Mr. Pena is very interested in that site. I've talked to him quite a bit about some economic opportunity there. And I think that we're getting close to doing something here, and it'd be a shame to just let it burn to the ground.
Selectman Slavin?
David, how long will it take to actually get the system put back in?
It's not, I would, did I give the time limit on that? Hold on, let me give you a second on that. That's a 2 to 4 week project to get that done.
That's it?
Yeah, I think that big of a.
So the plans that they have for 2014 celebration, it would be, that building would be back and be usable again?
That could be, yes.
Okay.
The other thing I want to state a little bit too with that, I know nobody wants to put a cent in that, but as far as without the fire protection, you really can't do nothing with this facility, you know what I mean? Maybe if that's the option, the town has to look to sell the property versus, and I was thinking of once all this stuff's done, maybe I could go forth with an engineering study or something to do something with this property instead of just letting it sit there. Maybe that would be the next thing in the fall to do.
We've already done that, actually.
Okay.
We have studies that were done by a company that was done 3 years ago. Spencer. The figures were just so high that the town wasn't going to be able to go ahead and do something. Had to bring an outside developer. The figures were anywhere from $5 million to $9 million to get that property up, so it met current codes, et cetera, in order to develop it from a low level to a high level. It's a real difficult deal. We have different groups in town that have a lot of history-based things they want to see. This is probably the only standing actual factory of its type anywhere around. There's an iron trail being developed. There's a whole group of people working on that.
There's a lot of contamination there, too.
Dollar-wise, business-wise, makes no sense, obviously. But the bottom line is I think the town of Wareham needs to make the decision on this as they need to do other things. So I'll probably go ahead and vote to give you approval, and basically the town meeting's going to make the decision. It's a lot of money, and they'll have to do it.
Didn't we just, was it 15, 25 grand for that study on the contaminants? And we just redid that again?
No, we haven't done it
They're in the
yet.
process of doing that, right? Through
They're-
Cedar, I think. Was it Cedar?
Cedar, I think, was trying to get a grant or something for it. It's not there. I think we also have from Serped. We've applied for
Oh,
a-
maybe that's
a-
what it was, Serpent.
We've applied for a grant, but you get in line, and last time around, we didn't make the cutoff point.
Cedar is looking for site assessment, brownfield site assessment
Yep.
funds from mass development.
Maybe that's
So
what-
that's,
I know we
that's what
just-
he's looking
I
into.
know we were just doing something there with
We're
that
looking in two
property.
different directions.
And I shudder to think of what they might find with that, but that's a different story for a
We
different
need
day.
to know that answer before we...
Yeah, before we put any money into it anymore.
As
We
Mr.
still-
Slavin says, I think it really should go before the town meeting. It's their choice.
We still owe over $600,000 on this property
Yes,
through
we
the
do.
bonds. So at this point, I do not believe that they will allow us to just shut down the system as well, because that is one of the assets for the bond. I could be wrong on that, but there's also something we've received that we need to look into, is that bond is callable and will save a substantial amount of money if we pay it off, and it would be spring of 2015. And with the CPA funds that are available, which are paying it every year, I would recommend that we pay off that bond in full next year.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yes, Mr. Foster has looked into that. It's the 10-year anniversary of the bond, and you can get in and take care of the rest of it without any prepayment penalty. the way the bond was structured, that could only happen at certain intervals. You couldn't just decide, when year 12 you were tired of paying the interest and get out of it. There are steps along the way at which you can jump in a given fiscal year and pay it without prepayment penalty on the rest of the interest. That, to me, sounds prudent. This, again, certainly the town meeting should have the opportunity to decide this, but I think Selectman Tropiano and I are on the same page as far as the utility of the expenditure.
He still has a couple of steps to go before he even gets to town meeting, but I'd make a motion to allow Mr. Menard to put forward the application for $595,000 for the Tremont Nail Sprinkler System Restoration Project.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Holmes, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye.
No.
Opposed?
No.
Abstained. 410. Selectman Tropiano, no.
Last item, David.
Okay, the last one is, this one's for the reconstruction of the dam itself, which is part of the Tremont Nail Factory. I just applied for a grant, and we received $164,995, and the balance is the $835 for the total million offered to get this dam repaired, where it's weeping through the walls of the Tremont Nail building and everything else. So this is what I'm looking to get CPC funds to aid in with the grant money and get this done.
Selectman Slavin?
David, are we also going to replace a portion of Elm Street Road that goes over the dam with this?
That's going to be a separate issue through
Chapter
Chapter
90?
90 funds, yes, but it's going to be, I'm going to try to get the dam done and then redo the roadway secondary after the
Right.
fact.
I don't have a problem with this one. I don't know if we can use, obviously, the state's going to allow us a very low interest, long-term loan for the balance to make up the $1 million in that particular grant loan combination. I don't know if we can actually use CPA money to pay it back the loan. Something that's going to have to be looked into, even though it is restoration. My one concern that I'd go ahead and vote for you to go ahead and do it with the codicil that you'll have to make sure who owns the dam. Now, the town of Wareham owns at least the side that the building's on, I believe. I have a feeling that A.D. Makepeace has, if you go back through the history, has a piece over where Little Colleges and that stuff along that side. They own some of the spillways and stuff. They might also own the wall on the other side as well. 'Cause
Yeah,
it
that's
looks-
correct.
It
We have a
looks as
meet-
if,
Yeah, we have a meeting on, I believe, Thursday in, with Makepeace, and I'm going to be discussing that, points of matter. But this is right now, it's in the design phase anyway, and after this meeting, I can change that design. And, if that spillways is on their section, if we have to, but we still got to kind of protect the Tremont Nail part of it. And maybe we might do a different type of spillway or something like that, for we can leave the water. There might be, as far as they won't be able to maintain their water. There's tons of things you can do there and bring them ponds down to a safe level, for the town doesn't have a liability on this. But this is all in the future. Right
Yep.
now, this is what I'm looking to do, but everything's going to unfold fast, I think.
yeah. On the wall on our side also, where it's leaking, was designed to actually seep water through there, because there's actual channels where the water's supposed to go through and drain. And I believe your drains inside the building are clogged up, so they're not draining properly as well. I'll make a motion, unless anybody has anything else on this, to go ahead and approve having municipal maintenance apply to CPA for historic preservation on the Tremont,
Second.
actually Parker Mill Dam project.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. And that concludes
The four.
the four.
I have a couple other things that I'd like to apply for on the town warrant articles. Is one thing is my fuel pumps at the town barn. Replacement, I had a cost of $92,000, and that's probably we've been trying to get this for a couple of years.
Well,
So-
we'll have you back in for that sort of thing. If you've got a specific warrant article that
Okay.
you're going to file, we have to notice that properly and actually almost do it in the context of a hearing, you might say. Not quite as formal as FinCom, but we're going to notice soon, I think, a meeting just devoted to going over the town meeting warrant articles that have been submitted so far.
Okay.
separate and apart from our regular meeting, to get that done so that we can make Madam Moderator happy by only bringing forward on the closed warrant those articles that we have allowed onto the warrant, rather than going through the exercise we have recently of, creating a 30, 40 article warrant, and then 10 of them, I'm not doing this, we're not doing that, we're not doing the other thing. So we're going to try to streamline it a little bit. So we'll work on that going forward.
All right, great,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
February 25th, that starts. Next up, we have vote to adopt annual smelt regulations.
This is an annual vote.
This is an annual thing. They don't change. It's just it's a ministerial matter. As the selectmen, for some reason, we're thought to
goes
be
back 100
experts in
years ago.
smelt, so we control smelt. So
I move that we adopt the attached smelt regulations for 2014 as
Motion.
recommended by Mr. Buckminster, the Harbor Master Shellfish Constable.
motion made by Selectman Whiteside,
Second.
seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 500. Next item, please.
Policy updates.
So what are we looking at here? 3 dead policies?
Voted on one already.
Yes.
We have 89-2, 89-3. These are part of the letter that we got from Mr. Buckminster saying we could remove all 3 since we already have pre-existing on the oyster fishery has to be approved each year, and this general regulation was changed and approved by the Board of Selectmen in January of 2016. So therefore, both are obsolete, and I would recommend removing them from our policy book.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500. They are gone. Next up, you have 89-5.
This is another one that was in liquor policies, I believe. No changes needed. My same question we had before. This probably should be melded in with 8814A. I'll work on that and come back to the board at a later date with that.
Okay. So no motion needed there.
89-6, fourth paragraph, add after open meeting law and all revisions made henceforth. Number 4, change from 24 hours notice for agenda to 48 hours at the end of the section. In addition, all boards, committees, commissions shall comply with amended 2009 Wareham Town Bylaw Division 1, Article 2, Section 1, we're required to do so. I believe all this does is update everything for 48 hours. Number 5, last sentence, remove Wareham Free Library and replace with Town Clerk's Office. Particular piece said that the minutes are supposed to be stored in the Wareham Free Library. It actually has to be in the clerk's office with a copy going to the Wareham Free Library. Number 7, remove and replace with copies of current open meeting law shall be made available to all town boards, committees, commissions, and officials by the Board of Selectmen's office by request. Number 8, add town council at the request of the Board of Selectmen will conduct a seminar on the open meeting law for boards, commissions, and committees and officials annually. Make a motion to accept the change.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 500.
Policy 89-9. This policy should be part of the employee handbook generated by the town administrator as required by Wareham Town Charter. Policy itself should, following at the end, number H, this policy will comply with current Massachusetts general laws. Motion to accept the change.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Thank you for your continuing work on the policies.
That's this week.
And we have another one.
And we have,
I believe this one is Selectman Whiteside's brainchild.
yes,
Yes.
it is, and for some reason it's not in the folder, but we all
Did you
we
want
all
a
got
copy of
this
it?
the week before.
I have one. Do you need it?
Yeah, just for a minute, sorry. I got it. My piecework.
It's in here.
It's in there, yeah.
It's in here.
This is policy number 2014-01, policy filing of license applications. Would you like me to read it all? For the record?
Yes.
Where it's a new
Okay.
policy, that might be wise.
Section 1, completed applications for licenses must be filed with the Board of Selectmen no less than 15 business days prior to the event sought to be licensed. Section 2, an application shall not be deemed to be complete until the application form is fully filled out and signed by the applicant, and until the application fee has been paid. Section 3, as required by statute, applicants for entertainment licenses must fully describe the proposed entertainment. General catch-all descriptions such as live entertainment are insufficient in detail. Section 4, upon receipt of an application, it is the practice of the Board of Selectmen staff to consult with the treasurer, collector's delinquent list, and to advise the board of any delinquencies. Since the town has adopted Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 57 bylaw, which allows the Board of Selectmen to deny licenses for delinquencies in the fashion allowed by statute, applicants are warned to resolve any delinquencies before filing any application. Section 5, except where a renewal fee is set by statute or bylaw, or where the law may otherwise provide, the surcharge for a late submitted renewal application is 10% for each month or portion thereof, that the renewal application is filed after the expiration date of the license for which renewal is sought. A new application by an applicant for the same type of license as the one that lapsed shall be considered to be a renewal for the purposes of applying the surcharge.
We're loan sharks.
Yeah, not that bad, though.
Okay.
They get 30% plus FIG. Applicants are advised that a proposed activity is not licensed until the completed license application has been approved by the Board of Selectmen. The license fee has been paid, and the applicant has received the signed license document from the Board of Selectmen staff. Policy shall take place effectively if accepted.
May I say that this has been vetted by town council and
Oh, in that case. Second.
Well then, motion made by Selectman Slavin,
second.
seconded by
yeah.
Selectman Tropiano. I think Selectman Holmes has a question.
Yeah, I do have a question. Under Section 2, it's asking that, well, let me just go to Section 1. If a particular business, and I think this might be a little restrictive, if a particular business has an opportunity to rent their building, or a late bloomer has an event, is there an out clause here where the board would allow the license to go through? Or are we telling our businesses, unless somebody comes to you 15 days in advance, you cannot rent your building and have an event?
No, I think Selectman Holmes, I think council may have your answer.
Oh.
It's our policy. We can do anything we want.
Now,
Yeah,
Mr.
wait. Whoa. It's a Board of Selectmen policy. I'm not asking for legal advice. You can sit there, Rich. I'm not trying to be a smartass either. It's our policy that we're setting. Why do we need, is that a legal question?
Well, I think what you've asked is, you've presented a procedural scenario where his advice on how we should interpret this, what we can do under it,
No,
is
it's a
relevant to
simple
the question.
It says, completed applications for, this is a Board of
nothing
Selectmen
legal about
policy. Completed application for licenses must be filed with the Board of Selectmen no less than 15 days prior to the event.
Well, we could
And all I'm
change it
saying is,
anytime we want.
and all I'm saying is, if a particular business, somebody comes up with something, right, and they have an opportunity to rent their business and make some income, but it happens 14 days prior to the event that
And you
somebody
know what?
comes
If we
to.
all deem that that's something that we want to do, we can do it. We
But
can
it-
do
but-
anything we want.
But
It's a policy.
then I think we need to just edit that line to say exceptions are at the discretion of the board, because what you're saying here is
That-
must be
You could add
filed.
that if you wanted. You can
That's
add
all.
that.
I'm just
Absolutely.
going through this. to say that
Exceptions are at discretion of the board. Absolutely.
If we're going to do it, because it says must be, Patrick. That's why.
Yeah, but it's not legal, it's just a policy. We can change it anytime we want. We could say, it could come in front of us and we could say, you know what, we think that it meets a different criteria and we want to change it and we're going to vote for it.
All right.
I have that sentence in.
Nice thing about policies.
Can
Right.
you read the sentence that you're putting in, please?
Yes.
Exceptions are at the discretion of the Board of Selectmen.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can you amend your main motion?
Still done.
Well, I had another question.
Oh.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry.
We're not done yet.
And then it's typical, I think, that we accept a fee before we approve.
Yes.
Typically.
And in the piece here that says the part
May I
about
clarify, just because of that question, Mr. Holmes? Occasionally, applicants come in, they fill out all of the paperwork, and they give the office staff $100 of the $200 fee, and they want the paperwork to start then. Okay, so there are some applicants who have made, on-time payments, but in this, I drew this policy up after long discussion with the office staff, who sometimes are asked to produce something on a Friday for us on a Tuesday.
right. Okay, yeah, and I'm
Okay.
saying before they can take the license, the fee has to be paid.
No, before it's an application, before it even comes before us.
You want them to pay it up front.
Well, no, wait a second.
And then if the board so chooses not to approve, we just give them the check back. Is that right?
Yeah.
The other piece I would ask is when they put the packet together, so we don't run afoul, could we also request that a copy, if the petitioner has a copy, has an issued license, either alcohol or entertainment or otherwise, that it be included in a copy of that license be included in the packet.
Say that again?
In other words, if you have a seasonal liquor license,
Yep.
and you have somebody coming in applying for a one-day license, I'd like to see the copy of that seasonal license in the packet if there is one.
That's a good.
If they have an entertainment or some other type of license for that business, when our group puts the packet together, I want to see their license in the packet, so that we can see what their existing rules are, if there are any exceptions to the, or what do you call those, restrictions on the license or anything like that. I'd like to see what the license is when we're approving or disapproving.
So
Like
you would
what we had here a couple of weeks
Right.
ago.
Exactly.
They have a license, and we should have seen that license. In the new policy, I'd like to see whatever they own in that packet for us.
I think that's a good suggestion. Could it be a checklist thing, or do you really want a photocopy of the
I'd
license?
like to see the copy. I mean, it's not a big deal, I don't think,
Okay.
to pull those, right? We have copies of those on file.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, they're right in the
So,
selectman's office. That's easy
When
enough.
they're pulling out the petitioner's packet, they can just put a copy in the file.
So you would add a section that says,
Include any existing licenses in the packet, a photocopy of the licenses in the packet.
under section 2?
I think that's under section 4, where it says what the group puts together. Isn't that section 4? It says, upon receipt of the application, it is the practice of the Board of Selectmen staff to consult with the Treasury, give us any delinquencies, and then provide a photocopy of any existing licenses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Exactly. Provide a photocopy of any existing
So
license.
the
That's
motion
good.
we
and
can
the
see it.
second has to be amended.
Because, we
That'll-
did start to run afoul a couple times where
Put that, Mr.
somebody had a
Slavin.
seasonal license. And
I
I
see
don't
him
know if-
writing over there. I think he's got it.
whether we knew it or not, they come in for a one day, we authorize the one day, and you can't do that. I mean, that's a foul. The entertainment license from a couple of weeks ago, it could happen to anybody. Is that license up to date? And if it's not up to date, you can't approve, we can't approve live entertainment for somebody who has a liquor license for live entertainment for somebody who doesn't have a license, right? So if we see their existing license, we know that it's current, and we know that we're
So
doing-
we won't have things in front of us that are not complete.
Right.
Correct.
It's
Or that we
really
don't
what it comes down
understand.
to. Right.
Nope, good points.
Thank you. I appreciate
Anything else?
the cooperation.
Can we have a motion as second amended?
Motion as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, Seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you
Opposed,
very
abstained, 500. Thank you.
Next
Office
is
staff, thanks.
TDR update. The workshop group met today. We had about 2 or 3 small items. I expect to get a workshop-ready draft probably Thursday of this week, and I'll be sending it out to all the board. We'll also probably, if we have no more questions, this hopefully will be out to the newspapers and up on the town website next week, and then we'll set a workshop, public workshop, for the public to come in and look at the TDR, discuss it, and take the information back to the workshop group to go from there. On a sad note, I'd like to, Ken Ferrer, who did not make our meeting, almost like a moment of silence, his wife passed away today. And I'd just like to, for a couple minutes. Ken Ferrer, our longtime chairman of the ZBA.
No.
Jesus.
I got an email about 4 o'clock today, she passed away.
Oh, that's awful.
Sad news.
So,
Moment of silence, please.
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Next, update on the building zoning inspectional permit guidebook. I believe I sent everybody about the first 15 pages draft on that. I haven't heard back from the town departments as well, so if everybody could go back, look, and just give me some feedback. It's going to be about a 40-page document when it's done, but I just want to go a step at a time.
When would you like to see this?
This is this one here.
That's for the zoning inspectional guide?
Yeah, the permitting guide. When would you like to see this back on the agenda?
A couple weeks will be fine. I can work from there. Thank you very much. Next up is the discussion we had about proposed charter change or bylaw change. This has to do with town meeting and the effective date of town meeting and the budget dates and town meeting dates that all intertwine with each other. Everybody, I believe, should have a calendar that goes from probably December, January up to May 2014. What I did is I went ahead and plugged all the dates in.
It's not
Is-
in mine.
It was in last week's packet, I
Last
think,
week's
sir.
packet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Looking through that, I don't see a calendar in here. It's a picture of a calendar? I don't see that in here. I got last week's packet.
I don't see
I
it.
think I do. I don't see it. 21?
Should have been loose.
You got extra copies?
I have the one
You
here.
don't have copies.
I don't see it.
Look how many copies you got there.
I don't
This is
see it in
workshop.
last week's packet.
Then it was the week before.
No, I
We-
don't have that
He
one.
did give it to us. Hang on.
It wasn't the week before.
All right, so go ahead.
The main piece right now is, the first thing we need to discuss is, I feel that we should leave the election date as of April 1st. If we change the election date, the only sensible thing to do, if we ever decided to do that, would
Well,
probably
right now,
have,
it's the first Tuesday in April,
it's the
right?
first Tuesday, in this particular case would be April 1st on this one. It's the first Tuesday in the month of April right now, by the charter and bylaws. But right now, of course, our policy, which I wrote for us, that everything works around that April 1st date, which creates some of the problems that we have time-wise as far as people getting stuff ready. It can work if everybody was in sync, but because they aren't. so-
April Fool's Day is a perfect day to have an
Yes, it
election.
is, so. I'll read off the dates that I have here since everybody's,
Is that remark directed at a couple of selectmen in particular, or?
just in general.
Just asking.
And the reason I discussed the April 1st date, in the perfect world, we'd have town meeting and then we'd have town election afterwards, because what happened is the people who were actually elected are the ones up on the floor at town meeting, supporting or not a vote that they didn't take, basically. So what would happen is you reverse it. Since we're not going to reverse it and we're going to leave it for now at April 1st as far as the election date, what I did was I worked back. If this was 2014 and we made the changes, town meeting would actually start on May 19th. You'd publish the entire warrant on May 2nd. town election on this particular case would be, would be April 1st. And then going back into March, 60 days, before, the Finance Committee gets a full 60 days to work on the warrant this way, work on the actual articles, et cetera.
You know, I don't have any problem with this. We tried this before, and it failed at town meeting for some reason. And to the life of me, I don't know why. Because frankly, more of our voters come back in May. You know, really, you know, we tried to move the voting thing. We tried to do all that stuff, and it didn't work.
No, let me just give you all the dates, and just so you have an idea how it works. And then basically on March 14th, you'd post the warrant in the precinct. On March 11th, you close the warrant for the Board of Selectmen. On March 6th, the FinCom would start department head meetings. On March 4th, you public the notice of intent to call town meeting. Then on February 24th, the town administrator, this is the budget issues, submits proposed budget to the Board of Selectmen / FinCom. School committee on the 19th of February submits their final budget to the town administrator. On February 5th, the school committee does their proposed budget and publishes it. These are all things that require in the charter. February 4th, the Board of Selectmen establishes date for completion of warrant. So what it does is it gives the FinCom a full 60 days to work on all the warrant actual articles. It gives the town administrator, instead of having had December 15th date in order to submit a budget to us, it moves it all the way out to February 25th. And then it gives the school committee till basically February 5th and February 19th to get their budgets.
Why does the town administrator need so much time to get the budget ready?
It's not that. What it is on December 15th, it's hard to get it all done.
But it could be a date in January.
It gives him just more
Which would
time.
give
And
the FinCom more time with it as
well, the FinCom was asking when I met with them about 60 days. They only get to 35 days currently.
I know.
So I basically added 25 more days by giving the date that I did. So they're happy with
I
that.
don't see why it has to wait till February.
It just gives everybody, as far as the school's
I
time.
mean, Derek, it's not really that big a deal to have the thing ready in January, is it?
Well, if we wait till January, after January 21st, we at least get the governor's first round of numbers on the what do you call it, the cherry sheet, which, I mean, that just increased by 400,000, was a big difference for the budget this year. So it would be nice to have that in a few weeks to look over what we do with it, because at some point it would be, I'd like to be able to present a balanced budget on the first one instead of these issues that we have now. So.
You said that with a straight face.
I
I can't believe it.
What it does also, just
Without a
I said,
designee.
it allows the school committee sufficient time to get it to the town administrator. So, because right now we're working, excuse my expression, ass backwards. He's submitting his budget on December 15th. The school committee really never gets
Public
budget
on
till,
TV.
it's okay, until January as it
Your
is
wife's
now.
going to wash your mouth out with
Do you,
soap.
do you need till February? 17th yet.
And I would
That's
say
almost the whole month of February.
it's
Yeah,
going to also
again, we don't
28
start
days.
till May.
Can we put a vote off until?
I don't wanna
There's
expect-
no vote noticed
no
on
vo-
here
there's
anyway.
no
It
vote.
would-
Oh, okay.
It would be
Yeah.
by way of a charter change, it would require a
Mm.
warrant article.
So
We
can
would
we
to
have
vote on
it-
it that way.
Can you put it in next week's
gotta go on the
packet?
ballot even.
We'll try it again.
Yeah, thank you.
I have to get an article, has to be written on it.
I just want to make
Yeah, it
a
has to go on the
comment.
ballot eventually.
I think that
Yeah.
Charter
go ahead.
change.
no matter what you put together, whether it's in January, February, January gives us more time to kick it around. There's no real valid numbers till later in the year anyway, by the time you figure out what the state's going to do. But I didn't want to talk about that. Under those new guidelines, you're talking about May 19th for town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, listen, if we're going to go through the motion of making a change, why don't we be bold and say that pick the 17th, which is a Saturday. Be bold. Why just move days around?
Well, I just,
Pick a Saturday for town
the
meeting.
day I gave you is because that particular week, it's a Monday.
I understand that.
What normally is the charter says the 4th of
Right.
April, so I just made the 4th one.
But let's
Actually,
be
the 3rd
bold and get rid of the Monday meeting,
one. Well, that's up, we can do that if you want.
right? Attendance is lousy. And maybe people, like Patrick says, people do start thinking, you know, after the middle of April there, if the weather's warm enough, they do start coming down on the weekends. And why don't we do that? If we're gonna go through all the trouble of changing it,
The only issue,
change it.
the only issue with the Saturday is that,
The snowbirds come in. Frankly, I was in favor of moving the election to a Saturday.
I mean, let's be bold.
But
If
that
we don't
messes
need
up
to
your
vote
dates
tonight,
because you
but
don't
let's
have a
think about
specific
that for
date.
next week.
well, it's not a specific date, it's just, you pick the, like the fourth Monday or whatever it is. If you pick the Saturday, the one issue with Saturday is, I think I'll be dead long before town meeting ever makes a one-day town meeting. So then what do? You're gonna wait till the following Saturday after that? Then you get into
No, you can
Memorial
just
Day
continue it to a
holiday.
later date.
Well,
I
yeah,
mean, you start your town meeting on a Saturday, and then you just keep rolling,
Well, I think.
if that's what you're gonna do. I mean, I'm not
I
saying,
think that you, is this
Uh,
a public meeting?
No.
Public
Nope.
input here?
No,
no.
I didn't think so. But at least, if you start on a Saturday, if you start on a Monday night, it starts at 7:00.
Yep.
You don't start the articles till 7:45, 7:30, 7:45. You get all the introductions, all the rules and all that sort of thing. So you're left with till 10:00. You have what, just over 2 hours to bang it out. You start on a Saturday morning, people will be less yakking, on a Saturday. And, you have more time to get it done. That gives the moderator, if you said it's gonna last till 2:00, gives the moderator 6 hours or 5 or 6 hours to get it done on a Saturday. I think she can do it.
I think this is gonna take quite a bit of discussion as I look out into the
I'm
crowd.
just saying, if you're gonna go through the trouble of trying to put a charter change, make it bold, make it a change. Don't just move days around
All right,
on the
let's-
calendar.
let's move,
Right?
we'll schedule this next week again.
Yeah,
Okay.
come back to this on next
Everybody will
week.
get a copy, and we'll invite the moderator in as well.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna make a change, make it bold.
Okay. No, my goodness.
Well, after the 21st is when the governor's required by law to put his budget in.
Yes.
So even though he's doing a State of the Union address tonight, but his budget's already in, so everybody already knows, but, because they have a date by law. So after that date, you have the governor's budget numbers. So anytime after that, you could give us a budget, within reason. I mean, it's like, it's just one number plug anyway. It's not really that big a deal. But, well, the number could be big, but, we also know that the governor's budget is dead on arrival all the time. As soon as it hits the floor, it's already dead.
Yeah, the lamer the duck gets, the deader the budget is.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
Next item, please.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
That's all right. Potty mouth is good once in a while.
Your wife's gonna be upset with you.
Too late now. Okay, next item, update regarding DOR versus water pollution control facility. Already did that, correct? You can replace me if you want. I know you will. Board discussion on revenue and expenses based on reports from town administrator.
I think we've already done that. I think we're all set there.
Actually, no, this is the, actually, what this would be our December report on the expenses would be due about now.
Yep.
The expenses to
the
date,
month
year
of
to date,
December.
month to
Yeah,
date.
and
the
we will have the expenses and the quarterly revenue. It would be next week.
Next week,
So,
Next week, do you
So
want it
next
on,
week.
so
Reschedule it.
yeah,
we'll
let's
have the
it-
information for next week's
Yeah,
meeting?
absolutely.
Okay.
That's fine.
I thought this was the 500.
No.
Where's the dashboard on the 500?
The 500 is where it stands right now. We've estimated approximately 250,000 that we've been able to locate from the,
Can we see something?
absolutely. Because just remember, that one's going to be fluid if we have any emergencies and such, so.
That's why I asked if we could get something weekly or
Okay.
see what's going on and keep our finger on it.
So should we do that as a week?
Steve,
If you only have 250, that's not 500.
It's towards the goal of 500.
Understood.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't know that that's a realistic goal anyway.
Well, it's not a matter of that. What I've asked for is for the board to have a visual.
I get what you were saying.
Of where-
I know what
okay.
you're saying,
Okay, so next week for those things. Next item, please. Okay, I'll do it. Update on the PSAC and Master Plan Committee.
Okay, the master, as far
That
as the
is
master
aye.
plan committee thing goes, I need 2 more weeks before I can actually put that together, because I'm in the midst of a big project, and then I will get it done. I will get that taken care of.
Okay, so why don't I put this 3 weeks out for
Yeah,
master plan?
Give me 3 weeks, and by then I'll have a meeting already scheduled. We'll already do it.
So I'll come back to this on the 17th. Is that okay?
Please.
Okay.
Yes, because I'm in the midst of a thing that is keeping me busy, crazy, so I just have to get it out of the way.
It's an update. PSAC.
Derek.
What? Public Safety Access Committee, or Advisory Committee.
Huh?
I thought that was a good one.
Wow.
Getting late in the
Point.
night.
It's PSAC.
Point right to me, yeah.
We'll explain the acronym, please, Blair.
Public Safety Action Committee.
There you go.
Oh.
So, this is sort of yours in coordination with the fire and water districts?
Yes, we have a meeting Thursday night for with both districts.
So you've scheduled a meeting?
Yes.
Good.
Boy, you have a
Is that-
busy
is that a meet-
Thursday.
Which one's that?
Actually, no, the meeting on this coming Thursday night, I'll do it ahead of time, is the meeting with the 2 districts in the town. For my favorite subject, Mr. Holmes, is internal regionalization between the town and town municipalities. That will be meeting number 2.
Yeah, we're having a
Mr.
lot
Sullivan
of
is gonna be there
overlap
with
on all
us as well.
these. We seem to be having a lot of overlap on on a
Yes.
few of these things.
The PSAC was the police department, the EMS, the fire department, et cetera, and they were looking at seeing where they would have areas where they could basically work together, including obviously a public safety complex, and also dispatch, among other areas.
Okay, so that one's still a work in progress, obviously.
Yeah, that's, again, we gave that to,
Yep.
as a workshop to Mr. Sullivan to
Yep.
work on, because that would be strictly the actual stakeholders. Next up, discussion on committee guidebook. That would be Mrs. Whiteside.
What I have done is worked closely with Marianne Silva, with Mr. Bowen, with Mr. Teitelbaum. If I leave you out, town moderator. Who else did I work with?
Town clerk?
Mr. Slavin, town clerk I already mentioned, and put together something that I think is necessary. And something on the agenda actually spoke to this issue. Or what I have proposed is a committee member handbook, which I will read the front page of. Volunteer citizens' participation is the backbone of our local governance. The town of Wareham is grateful for the many hours contributed by our numerous boards and committee members. See, there's already a change. This handbook has been prepared in conjunction with the town clerk for use by appointed and elected boards, committees, and commissions involved in town government. It provides information concerning legal obligations, procedural matters, and advice for the effective operation of these groups. It is a general guide, and more specific requirements may apply to each appointment. Then there's a table of contents, and it tells you, what the types of boards and committees are, how you resign, how you get appointed, how you post meetings, how you get your mail, the proper use of email, the improper use of email, where the money for your board or commission comes from, the fact that you are required as a board or commission to submit an annual report that gets printed, some information on town meeting, and then operations, like you should have a goal, or I don't like to use mission statement, but we'll say that, and a plan of action. And then when the committee or board, if it's been created for a specific purpose, how you dissolve that thing. Attached to this, although I didn't give them to you, and linked to this via email, is going to be an organization table of the town of Wareham, and I'm going to have to work with Mr. Underhill because it's in a funny shape. The conflict of interest law is an appendix. The open meeting law is an appendix. The public records law is an appendix. Then we go to our policies, the access to town council policy, the harassment policy, the social media policy. Then we have the sample warrant article format, sample meeting notice format, sample resignation form, and acknowledgement form, which we would have everybody sign saying, yeah, I got a copy of this. This is kind of dutiful. Mr. Bowen and I have been kicking this around for over 2 months. Mr. Teitelbaum and Mr. Slavin because he is my buddy, and Mr. Teitelbaum because he's an attorney. I had asked his permission to actually create this document. It is my hope that it makes people who are thinking about joining boards and commissions feel more comfortable about what their obligations are and what their obligations are not. It gives you quickie information on the open meeting law, on a whole bunch of information, and I hope that you had time to review it because I've been looking at this for 2 months, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions. So the only part of this that you don't have are those attachments, and they are going to be linked via email as well as hard copy available. Perhaps, may I ask if Madam Moderator has any comments after the board?
Certainly.
After the board?
I think it's a great idea. It's something that's been lacking for a long time. To be honest with you, I remember many moons ago when I got on my first committee, and it wasn't even in this town, and they handed you nothing. They just said, "Okay, you're a member." And then you said, "Okay, what do I do? Where do I go?" You know, like it's like almost like, you know how when you have that first child and you go to the hospital and they have the baby, you have the baby, and then they just hand it to you and say, "All right, have a nice day. Here's a bottle. Here's a thing. Bye. You know, see you later." And you go, "Huh?" You know, it's like, okay, what do I do with this now? You know, it's sort of the same thing. And this would have, I mean, they should have an instruction book for that. And this is really what we need. I mean, this is really a really great idea, and I really commend you. This is a terrific idea.
Thank you. Mr. Holmes, you're not going to say anything? After all that work?
I think I've supported this before, so are you looking for a vote? There's no
we
vote,
don't have
right?
a vote tonight. This
No, I
was
think it's
just
a great job. We got this one and the one for the zoning thing. I mean, these books are great.
No,
That's
the-
what you need, information.
The goal tonight was for Selectman Whiteside to
That's
introduce it
I'm
to us.
trying to keep it down to the
Yep. So we can come back next week on this for a formal vote.
Scheduled
To accept.
February 4th for a vote.
Well, this is a policy guidance document to the other boards. I think really we should go on the record as supporting it.
You want to do 2014-2 that says any
No, I don't want it.
issued a book?
No.
So what do you look for?
Just acceptance of the
Just
actual
acceptance of the idea and the document. And again, it has been.
Well, the idea has been accepted. I think we've got the consensus on that. I just, you know, I wanted the members to have an opportunity to look at this, the other people who hadn't seen it yet. As Selectman Whiteside said, she solicited remarks from me, independently of me. She solicited remarks from Selectman Slavin. So you got
It
that
was-
right. When she came in to talk about it, she threw me right out of the room when he was walking in. She can vouch for that. So can about 3 other witnesses. You know, the paranoia is in this town.
All right.
I'll put it on the
I
agenda for
think
next
that's
week.
enough
We'll be
babbling
done with
about this.
Next week.
We're trying to keep it short.
Yep.
Right.
Any other town business not
Well,
expected
can-
in 48 hours?
Does Madam Moderator choose
Oh,
to make any
sorry.
comments? No.
She's saying no. I think she's along with the rest of us on this.
She wants to go home.
Town business not anticipated in 48 hours again? Mrs. Whiteside?
No.
No.
Mr. Tropiano? Mr. Holmes?
No.
Nothing.
No. Town administrators report?
Yeah, I think we've already gone over most of the documentation that I have. The only other items I have is we have received our December disbursements from the, finally from the local options. Our rooms tax were approximately $2,000 higher, which is actually something when it's out of out of 17,000, so it was a little higher. And our meals tax was right in line, only about 3,000 higher. Last year in December, 119,000 and 122,000 now. And again, we have the Department of Revenue coming in with a team this Thursday. They will spend the whole day, and that is for the enterprise fund, looking into the funding of it, the indirect costs, and all the items associated with that. One thing I want to make sure everybody understands is it's not a complete audit of the enterprise fund. They made that very explicit that they're going to be doing the work on it and looking through there, but an audit of that magnitude they're not going to do. So this is the management of it, how we are functioning, how we are budgeting our revenues, how we are accounting for the indirect costs.
So there's going to be a management letter?
Usually they do. If you've seen it from what they've had before, they did a 2010 one, I believe, on the town of Wareham. Overall, this one will be very similar but explicit to the enterprise fund. We also expect Powers and Sullivan to produce the draft letters within the next several weeks, and I would say in February we will be receiving our free cash notification. So.
It's just amazing.
Thank you.
It's just amazing that we're still wrestling with free cash. I mean, we used to have it always before we got to October town meeting, sometimes tight, but we always had it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is part of the 500,000 we submitted our documentation.
But it's just so crazy. I mean, this isn't rocket science, They make it sound like it, but it isn't.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Sullivan? Next item, please.
Mrs. Whiteside, any committee, board, commission reports?
Yes. Sorry.
Good.
Mr. Ethier, Mr. Bowen, and myself.
Boy, names are a problem tonight.
No, they really are. I apologize. I really
I'm
do.
going to put name tags on everybody next week.
Visited the recycling center on Old Plymouth Road. It was a very informative visit, and I think the volunteers who run that are doing a really good job. They do actually separate recyclables as opposed to the dump where you and I go, where you can throw your household trash. This place actually separates it into everything. There are some questions that have come up that Mr. Bowen and I will be working with Mr. Ethier. But it's an interesting place to go. It's open Wednesday afternoons 1 to 3 and Saturday mornings 9 to 12, I think. The second one that I'd like to report on is the Local Emergency Preparation Committee, which met Tuesday. No. Friday. I don't know when it met. Monday.
Just say it met recently.
Recently met. It's been a long day. And present at the meeting were the 2 fire chiefs, the chief of police, the head of EMS, a representative from Toby Hospital, a representative from the Red Cross, the harbor master, the municipal maintenance director, representative from the police department, myself, and the press. And I probably have left some people out. What is being discussed is upgrading our provision of safety for people in storms like Nemo or hurricanes or something like that. We do have an emergency plan in place, but Walczak, Lieutenant Walczak, has been working very hard with me. Oh, Mima was there too, to get us a shelter as opposed to a warming center. There would be training available to citizens after our first responders. And I'm guessing, although we didn't really ask the question, that it might be a year down the road before this is actually a reality. Originally, they were thinking of using the high school. Can't with the floodplain. The middle school is also out of contention, but the Deacon School would probably be the location. Also working with the dog officer, the animal control officer, because during NEMO, many citizens wanted to bring their pets and would refuse to leave without them. And so the animal control officer is working with an organization named SMART, which helps create, pet-friendly shelters. So I want to just commend the work that's already been done. There's a huge amount of work. Really good cooperation between all of these municipalities that we have going together. But the Toby Hospital has given dedicated a room for a command center in a storm.
Well, thank you for all that. I know from the February blizzard last year, we had a lot of people that were very reticent to leave the warming center here. They didn't not want to go to Plymouth or Fall River. I think a lot of them particularly were fearful of the conditions they might find, although as I understand it, those shelters were both very well run, well policed, and well handled. And really, I think having our own shelter here will cause people to feel better about leaving their homes. If there's provision for the pets, then they'll really feel better about leaving their homes. We don't want somebody to die because they didn't want to leave their home or their cat or their dog or something like that, so that's important.
It would be a regional shelter, by the way, open to other communities, as
Thank you.
opposed to, as opposed to what we have now, which
Right.
is really just Wareham residents.
Mr. Tropiano?
All set.
Mr. Holmes?
Yeah, do we have an executive planned for next week?
We had an executive planned to hear from Labor Council this past week. We haven't rescheduled that yet.
Okay. Could we have, could you check with Mr. Bowen?
Get a
See
Meyer
if-
update?
And see if we could have one for next week? And I'd like to, on the agenda, I'd like to have him give us his annual review of any current litigation in the status.
Yeah, it's funny you say
and-
that. Mr. Sullivan and I had talked recently about getting Maya down here. It's been several months since we've seen them. We
You know,
can
town
certainly-
council should be able to give us that information, right, as he always does.
Yeah.
The second thing on that list is the 200,000. I think that would have to be discussed in executive session from the audit department, I believe. It's not on the agenda, though, Rich. I don't know. Yeah, we can wait till next week, and we have it on the agenda. I'm just thinking ahead for next week. So if we could get that annual review, see where everything is, see what's out there, and get that order issued back on the item that was removed from the agenda. There was an item removed from our agenda this week. Computers. I'd like to have a discussion about that.
Virtual computer system.
Oh, the virtualization?
Yes. Please.
That's for executive.
If he's available, if not, if it's the following week, whatever works.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay.
Planning board did not meet this week. They had no hearings, which is very unusual. Attended the MMA conference on Friday and Saturday. Got to visit with a lot of different vendors with different programs and ways of saving money and doing different projects. Mr. Sullivan has all the paperwork. He spoke to quite a few of the people there. We Went over to see DOR and smiled at them. They smiled back at us, which was nice. Didn't give us nasty looks or anything. We actually could talk to them. We actually met up with about 4 or 5 different state agencies and had some interesting discussions as well. And went back again on Saturday and took some workshop seminars to hopefully educate us to do a little better work going forward. That's it for me.
Yeah, I was there Friday and Saturday for the Mass Municipal Association meetings as well. Mr. Sullivan came up on Friday. Just so people know, I guess in the past this has been seen as an opportunity for a junket, perhaps by some past administrators and past board members who proceeded to stay in fancy lodgings and charge nice meals to the town. I would assure the taxpayers that none of this happened this time around. We drove up, we drove back.
Okay, let's, I see he's looking down here. I know. I mean, first off, we used to go and stay at the MMA. Absolutely, we did. We paid for all our own meals and everything else.
I wasn't actually referring
We never took a dime of money other than they paid for us to stay there. But it was something that, it's a whole package of things to do, to learn and do there. If you start on Friday night when they have the little reception, you get to meet a lot of people, and then of course you go into Saturday and Saturday night and so on. And it's actually quite a good take, especially for people who are new to this and get a chance to get exposed to all that. As far as expending money, we expended very little money whenever we went.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, if there's others that have spent money, I couldn't tell you, but all I can tell you.
Well, your junket, as I referred to it, was then within bounds. There were other junkets that took place that weren't, and I'll just leave it at that.
We paid for
Motion to
everything out of our
adjourn.
pockets.
Yeah, well, likewise. But that was interesting.
He's looking down this way. I was like, what the hell?
Felt
I
the
know.
gaze, huh?
Yeah, I think there was another selectman maybe sat down here you might be thinking of.
It could well be. We'll get off this topic now before we all get in trouble. All set.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin. Somebody second the motion?
Thank you.
Seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained. 5-0-0. Good night. Thank you.
Everybody.